At a private charity gala packed with elite donors, my wife leaned in close, just loud enough for everyone at our table to hear, and called me a freerider. She laughed, telling them I was only following her around for status, like I didn't belong in that room. I didn't argue. I didn't flash a watch or drop numbers. I stayed silent and let the humiliation hang in the air. Then the MC tapped the mic and announced the night's secret donor and read my name. The entire room froze. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Glasses paused in mid-air. And my wife, who couldn't stop mocking me 5 seconds ago, couldn't even look at me. If you think that's where it ends, you have no idea what happened next. Subscribe now so you don't miss the twist that made everyone in that gala regret laughing. Morning in Jersey City never felt dramatic. It was just routine, my kind of peace. I poured cereal into a bowl, checked the time, and made sure my son Malik had his homework in his backpack. He stood by the door, half asleep, hoodie pulled over his head. "You got your math folder?" I asked. He nodded without looking up. Teenagers had that gift. They could answer you while being a mile away. Vanessa walked in from the bedroom like she owned the air in the room. She wasn't in a hurry. She never was. She moved slow on purpose, as if the world could wait for her. "You're doing the dad thing again," she said, stretching the words. "Gold star." I didn't reply. I wiped the counter, grabbed my keys, and told Malik to put on his coat. Vanessa's eyes followed my hands like she was looking for something to criticize. When Malik bent down to tie his shoes, she reached across the kitchen island and picked up my wallet. Not gently, like it belonged to her. She flipped it open, thumbed through the cards, and pulled out a 20. "Cash? Wow. You still carry cash. That's adorable," she said. Malik glanced up, confused. "Mom, why are you taking Dad's money?" Vanessa smiled at him like he was cute for asking. "Because your dad is great at playing the good guy," she said. "But he's not great at providing the lifestyle people expect." The words hung there, not loud, not screaming, just sharp and casual, like she was talking about the weather. My jaw tightened. I didn't want Malik to see a fight before school. I didn't want him walking into class with that weight on his shoulders. So I did what I always did. I swallowed it. "Put the 20 back," I said, calm. "If you need something, ask." She laughed, soft and disrespectful, and slid it into her purse. "Relax, you'll survive," she said. "You always do." I walked Malik to the car. The cold outside hit my face and helped me breathe again. Malik sat in the passenger seat, quiet. His eyes stayed on the dashboard. Halfway to school, he spoke. "Dad, why does she talk like that?" I kept my eyes on the road. "Some people don't know how to speak with respect," I said. "But she's your wife." That one landed deeper than he meant it to. I dropped him off, watched him disappear through the front doors, then sat in the car for a moment longer than necessary. My hands stayed on the steering wheel even though the engine was off. The silence felt safer than going back inside my own thoughts. Work carried me into Brooklyn. My office wasn't fancy, but it was mine. Papers, spreadsheets, reports, things that made sense. Numbers didn't pretend. They didn't smile while cutting you. They just told the truth. By late afternoon, Vanessa texted, "Gala tonight. Don't be late. Wear something decent. No please. No can you. Just an order." I drove into Manhattan after work. Her apartment, our apartment, sat in a building that always smelled like fresh paint and expensive perfume. Vanessa met me at the door in a silk robe, phone in one hand, a garment bag in the other. "Finally," she said. "Go shower. I picked your suit. Don't embarrass me." I opened the garment bag. It was a tux, clean, sharp. Not my style, but I didn't argue. She walked into the living room and tossed my credit card onto the counter like she was tossing a receipt. "I used this for the deposit," she said. "They needed it on file." "For what?" I asked. "For the table," she said, already scrolling again. "Stop acting like you don't know how these events work." I stared at the card, then at her. "You didn't ask." She didn't look up. "If I asked, you'd hesitate," she said, "and I don't have time for hesitation." I dressed without speaking. The tie felt too tight, like it was made to remind me where I stood. Vanessa took her time. When she finally came out, she looked stunning. That was her weapon. She knew it. In the car ride uptown, she checked her lipstick in the mirror. Just smile, she said. And if anyone asks what you do, keep it simple. Nobody cares about your little job. They care about connections. My little job paid for more than she ever admitted. But I didn't correct her. I just drove. The gala was at a hotel on the Upper East Side. Marble floors, quiet music. People dressed like they never had to check the price tag on anything. Vanessa walked ahead of me, greeting people with kisses and fake warmth. "Darling," she said to a woman in diamonds, "you made it." Then she turned slightly, like remembering I existed. "Oh, this is Marcus," she said. "My husband." The woman glanced at me like I was staff. "Nice," she said, already drifting away. Vanessa didn't seem bothered. She leaned closer to a group of donors, men in tailored suits, women holding champagne like it was water, and she made sure her voice carried just enough. "Honestly, he's lucky," she said, smiling. "He just follows me around. Total freeloader." One of the men chuckled. "Smart guy," he said. My throat tightened. I felt heat rise up my neck, but I kept my face still. Years of practice did that. Staying controlled wasn't natural, it was survival. Vanessa continued, enjoying herself. "I mean, I never brag about my wealth," she said, "but someone has to keep things moving." My fists clenched at my sides, not to swing, just to hold myself together. I stepped away before my expression changed. I moved into the hallway outside the ballroom where it was quieter. My breath came out slow. I stared at the patterned carpet and tried to calm the tremor in my hands. Silence had always been my strategy. Silence kept the peace. Silence kept Malik from hearing arguments through walls. Silence kept my life from falling apart. But standing there alone, while my wife laughed at me inside a room full of strangers, something shifted. It wasn't anger, it was clarity. I realized my silence wasn't protecting my family anymore. It was protecting her, and it was erasing me. I went back into the ballroom like nothing happened. Not because I wasn't shaken, but because I refused to give Vanessa the satisfaction of watching me fall apart. The table looked the same, the smiles looked the same, but the air around me had changed. A couple at the next table glanced over like they were confirming a rumor. One man nodded at me with a grin that didn't reach his eyes, like we were both in on a joke. A woman in a gold dress watched me too long, curiosity sitting right on her face. Vanessa didn't even turn her head. She just lifted her champagne and gave me a look. Sharp, quick, practiced. "Sit down. Shut up." I slid into the chair beside her. My back stayed straight. My hands stayed still. The only sign that I was holding something down was the way my jaw ached from grinding my teeth. Someone across from us started talking about a new penthouse development. "It's all about access," he said. "If you're not in the right circles, you're invisible." Vanessa laughed like she'd invented the thought. "Exactly," she said. "That's why I do what I do." No one asked what I did. No one cared. Not tonight. I tried to focus on my breathing. In through the nose, out slow. A trick I learned years ago after Malik's mother died and grief made ordinary days feel impossible. Back then, I kept moving because stopping meant drowning. Tonight felt similar, just in a different form. Part of me wanted to stand up, take my coat and walk out. Not dramatic, not loud, just gone. Another part of me saw Malik's face in the car that morning. Why does she talk like that? If I left, Vanessa would control the story. She'd tell everyone I stormed out because I couldn't handle being called out. She'd turn it into proof that I was unstable, insecure, ungrateful. People would believe her because she was polished, because she belonged here. So I stayed. Not for her, for myself. While the conversation drifted, I started watching the room the way I watch meetings at work. Not to judge, just to notice patterns. Who leaned in when money came up? Who avoided certain names? Who moved like they were checking boxes? That's when I saw them. A small cluster of men and women, all wearing the same black wristbands, cutting through the crowd toward the VIP corridor. Not staff, not donors in the main room either. They moved like people on assignment. A man at the end of our table said something under his breath to another. "They're closing pledges in the back," he murmured. "Big numbers tonight." The other one nodded. "Yeah, I heard there was a last-minute wire. Cleaned up fast." Wire. That word hit my brain different. I worked in compliance. I'd sat in rooms where one suspicious transfer could cost a company its license. I'd seen people smile while laundering money through respectable channels. My eyes drifted toward the VIP corridor again. Vanessa noticed. She leaned over without turning fully, her voice soft and sweet, like a warning wrapped in perfume. "Don't wander," she said. "Just be normal for once." I didn't answer. I watched anyway. A few minutes later, I stood to excuse myself. Vanessa's fingers gripped my wrist under the table, tight enough to sting. "Where are you going?" she whispered. "Bathroom," I said. Her grip loosened, but her eyes didn't. She let me go with a smirk that said she still owned the leash. I walked past the tables and stopped near the hallway entrance, pretending to check my phone. A woman stood there too, holding a small clutch and scanning the room like she was counting exits. She wasn't dressed like the others. No sequins, no performance. Just a simple navy dress and a calm face. She looked at me once, then again, like she recognized something I was trying to hide. "Marcus Reed?" she asked quietly. I frowned. Most people here didn't know my last name. "Yes," I said. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "My name is Elena Martinez," she said. "Forensic accounting. I'm here because something's off with this foundation." I didn't move. I didn't nod. I just listened. Elena's eyes flicked toward the VIP corridor. "Your wife thinks you're invisible," she said, "but they're using you as a shield for something bigger." Elena didn't hand me a business card. She handed me a folded sheet of paper like it was something you pass in church when you don't want the wrong person to see. "Don't react," she said. "Just look later." I slid it into my inner jacket pocket and walked back toward the ballroom, keeping my pace steady. Vanessa spotted me the second I reappeared. Her smile stayed in place, but her eyes tightened. She waited until I reached the table. "Where were you?" she asked, sweet enough for others to hear, sharp enough for me to understand. "Bathroom," I said. "You take forever," she replied, then leaned closer. "And you don't need to be talking to people. Not tonight." I didn't ask what she meant. I already knew. She didn't like anything she couldn't manage. Dinner dragged on. Vanessa worked the room between courses, leaning into conversations, collecting compliments like she was paid by the ounce. Every time I shifted in my chair or checked my phone, she noticed. More than once, her hand landed on my knee under the table. Not affectionate, controlling. When the first round of speeches started, she stood and adjusted my tux collar like I was her display piece. "Look pleasant," she whispered. "Nobody likes a man who pouts." I stared at the stage. My mind stayed on the folded paper in my pocket. After the applause, Vanessa came back to the table and set her purse down beside my plate. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and flipped it face down without reading it. A few minutes later, she reached for my phone. No warning, no permission, just took it. "What are you doing?" I asked quietly. "Preventing problems," she said. "You don't need to be texting anyone. You always say the wrong thing. Give it back." She smiled at the woman next to her. "He gets moody when he's nervous," she said, like I wasn't sitting there. My stomach tightened. I looked around the table. Nobody challenged her. Nobody would. Vanessa had a way of making disrespect sound like charm. She slipped my phone into her purse. "After the event," she added. I sat there, empty-handed, watching her control even that. It wasn't the first time. She'd done it at home when she thought I was overreacting. She'd redirected calls, answered emails meant for me, even told Malik I was busy when I wasn't. Like she could edit my life the way she edited her photos. That thought bothered me more than it should have, because for a second I wondered, had she been doing it so long that I stopped seeing it? When the program shifted into the donation segment, Vanessa leaned toward me. "If anyone asks, you don't talk numbers," she said. "Let me handle it." I nodded once, mostly to keep the peace, then watched her walk off toward the VIP corridor with a man in a silver cufflink set. That was my opening. I stood, moving like I was stretching my legs. I slipped into the hallway again, found a quiet corner near a service door, and pulled the folded paper out. It was a printout of a donor commitment form. My name sat at the top, Marcus Reed, corporate partner. Below it, my company's name, a pledge amount that made my chest tighten, a signature at the bottom that looked like mine, but wasn't. Not quite. Close enough to fool someone who didn't know me. I stared at it until the letters blurred. For a moment, The room felt like it tilted. I asked myself the question I hated most. How much of my life had I handed over just to keep things calm? A door opened down the hall. Vanessa's voice floated out, low and confident. "It's safer if Marcus signs," she said. "Nobody questions him. They see the suit, the quiet, the family man. It's perfect." I stepped closer before I could stop myself. My heart thudded once, hard. My hand slid into my pocket for my key fob, then paused as I remembered Elena's warning. Don't react. So I did the next best thing. I opened the voice recorder on my smartwatch, held my wrist near the crack of the door, and let Vanessa keep talking while I captured every word. When she laughed, the sound made my skin crawl. I waited until her footsteps moved away, then turned and walked toward the elevator, like I was just another guest looking for the restroom. In the underground garage, I sat in my car with my hands steady for the first time all night, transferred the recording to an encrypted drive, and saved the donor form scan Elena had texted me a minute later, labeling the folder with the date and the name of the foundation. My phone rang before I'd even finished my first coffee at the office. The number on the screen was my bank's fraud department. I stepped out of my glass-walled office and into the hallway, keeping my voice low. "This is Marcus Reed." "Mr. Reed," a woman said, professional and tight. "We're calling because your corporate account has been flagged for unusual activity tied to a charitable foundation. We need to verify a few things before we allow additional transfers." My stomach turned, but I kept my tone steady. "What foundation?" She read the name. It was the same one from the Gala. The same folder sitting on my encrypted drive. Then she added something that made my chest go cold. "The listed point of contact is Vanessa Hart." I didn't answer right away. My eyes went to the open floor where my team sat. People typed, laughed quietly, walked to the printer. Normal life. Meanwhile, my name was being stapled to something criminal. "I didn't authorize anything," I said. "Freeze whatever you need to freeze. I'll send documentation." "Understood," she replied. "We also need confirmation that Ms. Hart has permission to act on your behalf." My mouth went dry. "She doesn't," I said. "Not anymore." I hung up, stared at my phone, then called Vanessa. She answered on the second ring like she'd been waiting. "What?" she said, already irritated. "The bank just called," I said. "Why are you listed as a contact on my corporate account for a foundation I didn't sign for?" She exhaled like I was wasting her time. "Because someone had to handle it," she said. "You sit on your money like it's going to save your soul." "That's not an answer." "It is," she snapped. "You just don't like it." I closed my eyes for a second. I could hear traffic behind her, like she was already out and moving, living her day like nothing could touch her. "You used my company," I said. "You forged my signature." Her voice sharpened. "Don't start," she said. "You're not a victim. You're selfish. You want to look humble while you hoard everything." "Vanessa," I said slow, "this can destroy me." "No," she shot back. "You're trying to destroy me." Then she changed her tone, like flipping a switch. "You know what?" she said. "I'm done arguing with you. If you want to act unstable, that's on you." The line went quiet for half a beat. I heard her tapping her screen. "Who are you calling?" I asked. "Someone who matters," she said. I waited, listening. She didn't hang up. She didn't mute. She wanted me to hear it. "Hey, Cynthia," Vanessa said, suddenly warm. "Yeah, I'm okay. I'm dealing with Marcus. He's spiraling. He's upset about the Gala, and now he's making threats about the foundation. I'm worried he's going to do something reckless." My throat tightened. Cynthia. I'd heard that name. Big fundraiser, heavy connections. The kind of woman who could ruin someone's reputation with one phone call. Vanessa kept going, voice full of concern she didn't feel. "I know," she said. "I'm trying to keep it private, but he's acting unpredictable. If he reaches out to anyone, just be careful. I don't want this to blow up." I stood there in the hallway, staring at the wall like it was the only thing keeping me upright. When she finally ended the call, she came back to me. "See," she said, "this is what I deal with." "You're setting me up," I said. "I'm protecting myself," she replied. "Maybe you should have protected your family instead of playing quiet hero." She hung up. I walked back onto the floor. My assistant looked up. "Everything okay?" she asked. I nodded. but my body didn't believe the lie. An hour later, an email came from one of our partners. Subject line, pausing until further notice. No explanation, just polite distance. I watched the message sit there, unread by anyone else, and felt something heavier than anger settle in my chest. Vanessa hadn't just insulted me. She'd aimed at my livelihood, at my name. And if my job went, the first thing at risk wouldn't be my pride. It would be my ability to keep Malik safe, stable, and away from whatever storm she was building. The anonymous email hit my inbox around lunchtime, wedged between a calendar invite and a vendor update. No subject line, no greeting, just one sentence. If you don't speak up, she's going to put all of it on you. Below that was an attachment. I didn't open it right away. My cursor hovered over the file name while my office phone rang and my assistant knocked, asking if I still wanted the 2 o'clock meeting. I told her yes. My voice came out steady. After she left, I closed my door, pulled down the blinds, and clicked the attachment. It was a scanned signature page from the foundation. My name typed at the top. My company name printed beneath it. The signature at the bottom looked like mine in every way that would matter to a judge who didn't know me. Same loop in the M. Same sharp tail on the D. Only one thing was off: the pressure. I'd been signing things for decades: contracts, compliance reports, school forms, grief paperwork after Malik's mom died. My signature always leaned heavy on the downstrokes. This one floated, like someone tried to mimic my hand but didn't carry my weight. My throat dried out. I forwarded the email to a private address Elena had given me the night before, then deleted it from my work inbox. If my company's system got compromised or subpoenaed, I needed control over what existed where. By 2 o'clock, I sat through meetings and spoke when I had to. I nodded at the right moments. I signed off on a policy update I barely read. My body moved on autopilot while my brain replayed Vanessa's voice. It's safer if Marcus signs. When the last call ended, I texted Elena from a burner number she'd suggested I get. "I'm free." "Where?" She replied fast. "Near Central Park, West Side, small cafe, come alone." An hour later, I walked into a quiet coffee shop where no one cared who I was. Elena sat near the back with a laptop open and a stack of papers beside her like she'd been waiting all day. She didn't waste time. "You saw it," she said. I slid into the chair across from her. "Yeah," I replied. "And the bank flagged my account this morning." Elena's expression didn't change, but something in her eyes hardened, like she'd just crossed from suspicion into certainty. She turned her laptop toward me. A timeline filled the screen. Dates, wire amounts, account numbers, notes in tight handwriting. Some transactions were small enough to look harmless. Others jumped in clean, round numbers that didn't make sense for a charity event. Elena tapped one line with her pen. "That gala is a funnel," she said. "Not the whole operation, but part of it." I stared at the list. "How do you have this?" I asked. "Because I've been tracking the foundation for months," she said. "They've got a pattern. Donations come in, they get split, they go out to shell vendors. Sometimes they circle back as consulting fees. Sometimes they disappear." My fingers curled around my coffee cup. I hadn't even taken a sip. "Vanessa runs fundraising," I said. "She doesn't touch the books." Elena gave me a look that said I'd been naive for longer than I realized. "She touches what she needs to touch," she replied. "And she touches it through you." That sentence landed like a punch. Elena leaned forward, lowering her voice. "This isn't a marriage issue anymore, Marcus," she said. "This is a fraud structure. The second law enforcement comes in, the easiest person to pin it on is the quiet spouse with the clean reputation." My jaw tightened. "So I'm the fall guy." "You're the shield," she corrected. "Same result if you don't move." I sat back and let that settle. Vanessa didn't need me as a partner. She needed my last name, my job title, my calm image, the family man mask she could hang on a scandal and claim she never knew. My phone buzzed. A text from a number I recognized, one of Vanessa's friends. "Hey, Vanessa said you've been acting scary lately. Are you okay?" Then another one. "Marcus, I don't know what's going on, but Vanessa sounds really worried. Please don't do anything." I didn't respond. I just watched the messages pile up. Elena noticed. "She's already shaping the story," she said. "That's deliberate." My chest felt tight, but my voice stayed even. She's telling people I'm abusive. Elena nodded once. That gives her leverage, she said, and it explains why she locked you out of your phone and email last night. She's controlling the narrative and the paper trail. I looked down at my hands. They were steady, not because I wasn't scared, because fear had turned into focus. What do I do? I asked. Elena slid a folder across the table. You hire a lawyer, she said. Today, someone who understands financial crimes and family court. You also request an independent audit of any account she touched, including the foundation's pledge forms with your name on them. Everything needs to be documented and done clean. I stared at the folder, then reached for it. Outside the cafe, my phone buzzed again. This time it was my aunt, asking why Vanessa was saying I had episodes. I didn't answer. I stood up, pulled my coat on, and told Elena I'd call her after I spoke to an attorney. Then I walked out into the city, dialing a number I hadn't wanted to dial for years. My old friend from compliance, the one who'd left to become a legal investigator. Because once you involve lawyers, you don't go back to how things were before. I started living in two worlds. One was Malik's world. Homework on the kitchen table, microwave dinners on weeknights, his sneakers by the door, the usual questions about school that I answered like everything was fine. The other world began when his bedroom door clicked shut. After I checked that he was asleep, I'd grab my coat, walk downstairs, and sit in my car like it was an office. The same routine every night. Laptop open, headphones in, lights off. Not to hide from anyone, but to keep my mind clear. Elena's recording sat in a folder beside my own. The donor form, the forged signature, the bank flag notice. Screenshots of Vanessa's texts where she casually admitted she used my card for the deposit. Every piece went into a timeline, the way I'd build one at work when something didn't add up. I listened to Vanessa's voice again. It's safer if Marcus signs. I didn't flinch anymore. The first time it made my stomach twist. The fifth time, it became information. Anger burns out if you don't feed it. What replaced it wasn't forgiveness. It was focus. I called the attorney Elena recommended. A woman named Rachel Kim, sharp voice, no unnecessary comfort. She asked direct questions, told me what to preserve, what not to touch, what to stop saying in text messages. She didn't promise a win, she promised a plan. That was enough. Nights blended together. I'd compare transaction dates, match them with Gala events, note the gaps where money moved fast and explanations moved slow. Sometimes I would pause and stare at Malik's school picture taped to my dashboard. Not sentimental, just a reminder of the stakes. Then the signs started. The first time, I noticed a dark SUV parked across the street from our building. Same spot, engine running, no lights on. I told myself it was nothing. 2 nights later, it was there again. Same SUV, same angle, different driver. I wrote it down anyway, plate number, time, small details. That's how you survive in my line of work, by not dismissing patterns. The next morning, my email account sent me an alert. New login detected. The location wasn't mine. The device wasn't mine either. I changed passwords, activated 2-factor authentication, and moved everything important off my main accounts. Rachel told me not to confront Vanessa yet. Let her think she's ahead, she said. People make mistakes when they feel safe. That evening, Vanessa texted me like we were a normal couple. Hey, I don't want drama. I just want our family to be peaceful. I stared at the words for a long time. Vanessa never spoke like that. Not unless she was trying to sell something. I didn't reply right away. I finished packing Malik's lunch for the next day, rinsed out his water bottle, and made sure his permission slip was signed. Then I sat back down in my car and played the message again in my head. Peaceful. It wasn't peace she wanted. It was silence. My silence. Because silence made her life easier. I typed one sentence and deleted it. Typed another and deleted that too. Anything I wrote could become a weapon. So I put my phone down and opened my laptop instead. The SUV showed up again around midnight. I watched it through my rearview mirror. Not scared, just alert, and kept working through the timeline until my eyes started to ache, and the evidence folder had enough weight to feel real. Inside the building, Malik would wake up in 6 hours and ask what we were doing this weekend, and I'd answer him like I always did. while my mind stayed on one question. How far was she willing to go to keep using my name? The notice came the way bad news usually does, through someone else's hands. My building manager stopped me in the lobby and asked if I was okay, like he'd been instructed to be gentle. "There's someone upstairs looking for you," he said. "Some kind of officer." 2 minutes later, I was standing by the mailboxes while a process server explained, calmly, that I'd been served. Temporary protective order request, family court, Manhattan. I didn't blink. I didn't argue. I just took the papers and thanked him, because that's what you do when you want to stay in control of yourself. Upstairs, Malik was eating cereal in front of the TV. He looked up when I walked in. "What's that?" he asked. "Just paperwork," I said. "Go get dressed." He didn't push, but his eyes followed me down the hallway. In my bedroom, I read the allegations twice. Threatening behavior, financial control, emotional intimidation. The language was clean and dramatic at the same time, like someone had coached her. Vanessa wasn't asking for peace anymore. She was asking for power. Rachel answered my call on the first ring. "She filed," I said. "I'm not surprised," Rachel replied. "Don't contact her. Don't respond to any messages. We go to court." "She's trying to keep me from Malik," I said. "She's trying to create leverage," Rachel corrected. "We'll handle both." I stared at the papers while she talked, my mind working like it always did. Timeline, motive, outcome. Vanessa wanted to paint me as unstable so she could explain away whatever came next. If the foundation scandal broke, she'd point to this and say, "See, he's vindictive, he's dangerous." A part of me wanted to step back, let her have the apartment, let her have the social life, let her keep the show. But Malik was my line. I couldn't let her rewrite me as a threat to my own child. 2 days later, I stood in family court in Manhattan, wearing a suit that didn't feel like armor, just fabric. Rachel stood beside me with a folder thick enough to make the clerk raise an eyebrow. Vanessa sat across the aisle in a cream blouse, hair perfect, eyes red like she'd practiced in the mirror. She didn't look at me until the judge entered. When she did, it was brief, cold, almost satisfied. Her attorney spoke first. He used words like fear and control and volatility. Vanessa dabbed at her eyes at the right moments. I watched the performance with my hands folded, forcing my breathing to stay even. Rachel stood when it was our turn. She didn't attack, she didn't insult, she just laid out contradictions. "Ms. Hart claims Mr. Reed controlled her finances," Rachel said, "yet she is listed as the point of contact on his corporate banking profile, without authorization." Vanessa shifted in her seat. Rachel continued, steady as a metronome. "She claims she feared his behavior at the gala, yet she repeatedly insisted he attend, used his credit card for a deposit without asking, and intercepted his phone during the event." Then Elena's affidavit came in. Login alerts, data timestamps, a record showing Vanessa's device accessing accounts she claims she never touched. The judge listened without expression. By the end, the temporary restrictions didn't go through the way Vanessa wanted. No removal order, no forced distance from Malik, no immediate win. The judge issued something neutral instead. Limited contact between Vanessa and me, instructions to communicate only through counsel, and a reminder that false claims carried consequences. Vanessa's face didn't crack, but her jaw tightened. Outside the courthouse, Rachel walked beside me toward the sidewalk. "You did good," she said. "You didn't react." I nodded once. My phone buzzed with a text from Malik's school about an upcoming parent meeting. I read it, saved the date, then tucked the phone back into my pocket and kept walking, already thinking about how to explain to my son that his mother was trying to turn the law into a weapon. I met the witness on a Tuesday afternoon when my calendar was already packed, and my head felt like it had been running for weeks without sleep. Elena texted me a location. DUMBO. Small park near the water, bench by the dog run, 2 o'clock. I got there early and stayed standing, hands in my coat pockets, watching people walk by like this was any normal day. No one paid attention to me. That was fine. I didn't want attention. I wanted facts. A man approached from the sidewalk, mid-30s, thin face, nervous shoulders. He kept checking behind him like he expected someone to grab him. Elena stood a few steps away, not close enough to look like she was involved, but close enough to hear every word. The man stopped in front of me. "You Marcus?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "You're the one who reached out?" He nodded fast. "I used to work for the foundation," he said. "Events, vendor payments, stuff like that." I didn't sit. I didn't offer him comfort. I kept my voice low and even. "Why now?" I asked. He swallowed. "Because I saw your name," he said. "And because I don't want this landing on me." Fair enough. He took a breath like he was about to jump into cold water. "Vanessa told us to split donations," he said. "Not all of them, the big ones. She'd say, 'Keep it under reporting thresholds.' She'd smile when she said it, like it was a trick." My jaw tightened, but I didn't interrupt. He continued, words spilling out faster. "She also said it was safer if your name was on the pledge paperwork," he added. "She'd tell the director, 'Marcus is clean. Marcus has a corporate role. Nobody questions Marcus.'" I felt the ground shift under me, not because I was surprised, but because hearing it from someone outside my marriage made it real in a way nothing else had. Elena stepped closer and held up her phone. "Are you willing to say this in a sworn statement?" she asked. "Not just here." The man hesitated. Then he nodded. "Yes," he said, "but I want protection. I want my name kept out of it as much as possible." Rachel could handle that. So could the agencies involved. This wasn't a neighborhood dispute. This was financial crime. I pulled out a small notepad, wrote down his full name, and asked for dates, names, vendor codes. He gave me enough details to build a clean trail. When he finished, I thanked him, short and simple, and watched him leave without looking back. Elena exhaled beside me. "That's the missing piece," she said. My phone buzzed. Vanessa's live video popped up on my feed. Someone had sent it to me, probably hoping I'd react. She stood at another event, mascara smudged, voice shaking. "I'm trying to stay strong," she said to the camera. "People don't know what I've been dealing with at home." Comments flooded beneath her. Support, hearts, sympathy, strangers calling her brave. I stared at her face, then shut my screen off. She could win crowds with emotion, but paperwork didn't care about tears. I walked toward the subway, typing a message to Rachel with the witness's name and the details he'd given, already deciding which documents needed to be notarized first. Vanessa didn't invite me to the next gala. She summoned me. The message came through her attorney's assistant, because by then we weren't supposed to speak directly. "Ms. Hart requests Mr. Reed attend the Foundation Renewal Gala as her spouse of record." Spouse of record. Like I was a title, not a person. Rachel read it, then looked at me over her glasses. "She wants you there for optics," she said. "She's trying to prove she still has control." I nodded. My hands stayed flat on the table. "Then I'll be there," I said. That night, I dressed in a dark suit I chose myself. No tux she picked, no costume. I kissed Malik on the forehead before I left and told him I'd be back before midnight. He didn't ask where I was going. He just stared at his homework like he was tired of adults making everything complicated. The gala was in Manhattan again. Different ballroom, same crowd, same smiles that didn't mean anything. Vanessa arrived on my arm like she owned the narrative. Her nails dug into my sleeve as we walked in, a private reminder. At the table, she leaned toward a donor couple and laughed too loudly. "Marcus is still figuring out his place," she said. "He likes to tag along. It makes him feel important." The man chuckled. "Nothing wrong with a supportive husband," he said. Vanessa's eyes flicked to me. "Supportive," she repeated. "That's one word for it." I didn't correct her. I didn't defend myself. I just watched the room. Rachel had already sent the audit package to the foundation board that morning. Elena had forwarded the sworn statement to the Financial Crimes Unit. Everything was in motion before my feet hit the carpet. All I had to do was let Vanessa stand where she always stood, center stage, so she couldn't claim she was blindsided in private. Dinner ended. The lights dimmed slightly. The MC stepped up, cheerful voice bouncing off the walls. He talked about community, about generosity, about transparency. Vanessa clapped with everyone else, smiling like she believed it. Then the MC adjusted his mic and said the words that made the room shift. "Tonight we want to recognize a donor who chose to give quietly," he said. "A secret donor." Vanessa straightened. "Please join me in thanking Marcus Reed." Silence dropped like a curtain. Heads turned, eyes widened. A few people actually froze mid-sip. The donor couple beside us stared at me like they'd misheard. Vanessa didn't clap. Her smile collapsed into something stiff and unfamiliar. She stared at her hands, then at me, then away again. I stood up slowly, not rushed, not dramatic. "Thank you," I said, keeping my voice even. "Before we continue, I'd like to request the Foundation display the independent audit summary that was submitted this morning for full donor transparency." The MC blinked. The board members near the stage exchanged looks. Someone whispered into a headset. Then the screen behind the stage changed. A clean report appeared. Lines of transactions, vendor payments, split donations, a chart showing money moving in circles, a scanned pledge form with my name, a signature that looked like mine and wasn't, emails from Vanessa giving instructions. One subject line stood out like a bruise. "Keep Marcus on the paperwork." Murmurs rose into questions. Questions turned into panic. Vanessa stood, knocking her chair back. "This is insane," she shouted. "He's lying. He's doing this to punish me. He's been unstable for weeks." Her words cut off when men in suits stepped into the room. Not security for the event. Federal badges. Financial Crimes Task Force. They moved straight toward the VIP corridor first, blocking exits, speaking into radios. One of them approached the stage and spoke quietly to a board member. Vanessa's voice faltered. Her eyes darted around for allies. I didn't say anything. I just stepped back from her, one pace, then another, giving her the space she'd demanded for years, only now it was the kind she couldn't close. I walked away from the table while the room erupted behind me, my phone already in my hand as I typed Malik's babysitter to check in, because my son still needed to be picked up in the morning no matter what happened to Vanessa tonight. The weeks after the gala weren't loud. They were paperwork, meetings, phone calls, and long stretches of waiting while other people moved pieces I couldn't see. Rachel arranged everything like a chessboard. I followed her instructions the way I follow procedure at work. Careful, documented, clean. No side conversations, no emotional texts, no trying to explain myself to people who had already decided what they wanted to believe. Washington, D.C. felt colder than Manhattan, not in weather, in attitude. I sat across from investigators in a plain office, slid folders across a table, and answered questions until my voice went dry. "Did you authorize these transfers?" "No." "Did you sign these forms?" "No." "Did your wife have access to your accounts?" "She took access," I said. "I didn't give it." They wrote everything down. They asked for timelines. They asked for names. They asked why I didn't come forward sooner. I didn't give them a speech. "Because I was trying to keep my son stable," I said, "and because I thought silence could fix things." One of them nodded like he'd heard that 100 times. The foundation board moved fast once the investigation turned official. Donations were frozen. Vendor contracts were reviewed. Money that could be traced went back to programs it was supposed to support. It didn't fix the damage, but it stopped the bleeding. Vanessa's world collapsed in a way she couldn't charm her way out of. Her accounts were locked. Her phone stopped ringing. The same people who laughed at her jokes stopped replying to her texts. The friends who cheered her on during live streams went quiet when subpoenas landed. Rachel showed me the charges when they became public. Fraud, money laundering, forgery, conspiracy. Serious words that didn't soften just because the defendant wore designer heels. Vanessa tried one last time to reach me through a third party. A mutual acquaintance called and said she was devastated, that she wanted to talk like adults, that she never meant for it to go this far. I listened, then ended the call. There was nothing to discuss. Family court in Manhattan finished what the financial investigators started. The divorce was clean because Rachel insisted on clarity. No emotional bargaining, no back and forth, just legal terms, custody schedules, financial boundaries drawn so hard they could cut. Malik stayed with me in Jersey City full time. He didn't celebrate. He didn't ask questions. He just started sleeping through the night again. One evening, months later, I drove into Manhattan to pick up the last of my things from the apartment building. The doorman recognized me but didn't say much. He just handed me a small box the way someone hands over a past life. I carried it to my car and sat behind the wheel for a moment, looking at the building like it was a place I used to visit more than a home I'd lost. The engine started with a quiet turn of the key. I checked my mirrors, pulled into the street, and headed back across the river. thinking about Malik's science project waiting on the kitchen table and what we'd eat for dinner when I got home.